Shine your light now. This time it's got to be good. You get it right now, yeah. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. Hollywood. Hollywood.
What's up, guys? On this episode of On the Set, I'm taking a look at Scream 7, which brings back Neve Campbell to the franchise. The film starts off with a young couple checking out the Stu Macher house, which has now been turned into a tourist attraction. One of them mentions that Stu never really died and may still be out there somewhere. As they wander through the house, they're met with a Ghostface animatronic that seems all too real. However, just then, they're attacked by the actual Ghostface, who kills the couple one by one, and then proceeds to burn the house down. Sometime later, we go to Indiana, where Sidney Prescott has been living with her husband and daughter. Mark is the police chief and now has a different last name. It was Kincaid in Scream 3, and now all of a sudden it's Evans. But since Mark was recast, the producers changed the last name because the actor playing him changed as well. Anyway, Sidney and Mark have a daughter named Tatum, who has an extremely strained relationship with her mom. Sidney is just way too overprotective and won't tell Tatum anything at all about what happened in her past in Woodsboro. One day, as Tatum is rehearsing for a school play, Ghostface appears and kills her friend Hannah. Meanwhile, Sidney gets an anonymous call that turns out to be Stu Macher, saying that he's outside Tatum's school and that he's going to kill her. But when Sidney gets there, Ghostface is gone. After that, Mark has their house on lockdown and has officers watching their house from the outside. However, Ghostface has been hiding in their attic and ends up holding Tatum at knife point in front of her parents. All of a sudden, a huge fight ensues between Mark, Sidney, and Ghostface. Mark gets knocked out, and Sidney takes Tatum to a panic room. The fight spills into the front yard, where out of nowhere, Ghostface gets run over and killed. Who was driving? Well, Gale Weathers, of course. After hearing about what happened at Tatum's school, they came to town to help. The police later identified Ghostface to be a murderer named Carl who had just escaped from a mental hospital. But, unlike the Ghostface of the past, this guy is nobody that Sidney knew previously. Just then, Sidney's neighbor Jessica comes over to see what happened, and Gail labels her son Lucas as a suspect. Here, Sidney gets another video call from Stu, who mocks her and threatens her yet again. After that, Sidney and Gail go to the mental hospital to look more into Carl. When they show a video of Stu to an employee there named Marco, he recognizes Stu as a John Doe who's been staying there for a long time. And also, he had no memory of what happened in Woodsboro. Getting the TV dropped on his head gave him amnesia. Stu is still alive. So obviously, he put Carl up to being Ghostface. As that's happening, Chad and Mindy gather all of Tatum's friends into a bar and try to determine who the killer is. Back at home, Mark is suddenly ambushed and attacked by Ghostface and is presumed dead. Trying to draw the attention of Stu, Sidney lets Gail interview her on live TV, hoping that he'll call her while they do so. But it doesn't pan out. Instead, Ghostface shows up to the bar and kills off Tatum's friends. Tatum makes it out alive, but notices her boyfriend Ben has deepfake software on his laptop that makes it look like he's been pretending to be Stu the whole time. So she knocks him out and runs away. Ghostface chases her into a coffee shop ran by Sidney, where Sidney calls Tatum and talks her through how to use a gun. Ultimately, Tatum shoots Ghostface and it's finally over. That is, until a second Ghostface appears and kidnaps Tatum. Stu tells Sidney to go back to her home. She finds Tatum tied to a chair. The two Ghostface reveal that they've been using AI technology to impersonate Stu. But not only him, Roman, Nancy, and everybody else who's been Ghostface over the years. Ghostface turns out to be her neighbor Jessica and the mental hospital guy Marco. Jessica explains that she's been trying to repeat the past by making Tatum the new final girl. Just then, Tatum gets free and Sidney shoots Marco in the head. An intense fight ensues where Sidney and Jessica beat the hell out of each other, ending with both of them shooting Jessica in the head about 50 times or so. I mean, they turn her head into like Swiss cheese. After that, as the paramedics show up and tend to Mark, who is actually still alive, Sidney finally opens up to her daughter and tells her where she got her name from. Her best friend from the first movie. The end. Well, it wasn't as good as 5 or 6 or the original 3, but it was okay. To me, the killer seemed lackluster. Using Stu as AI seemed kinda stupid, and a wasted opportunity. I was really hoping that he'd still be alive. Anyway, Tatum was badass and ended up being the MVP of the movie. And they shot that chick in the face like 50 times. That was wild. And that was Scream 7, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.